Genesis chapter 1. In the beginning, when God considered something. Anyway, it's kind of hard to read. On the second page, there is a picture of creation. I never go anywhere without my Bible. And what I want to talk about today is evolution. Now, there's an area of computer science that is called evolutionary algorithms. And basically what this is scientists decided, well, if evolution were good enough for biology and living creatures, why not use it for simulations in the computer? And, well, actually it turns out it doesn't work too well at all. And actually, inadvertently, they have showed how ridiculous evolution is and how unlikely it is that anything would have been created with evolution. If you look at some of these simulations that these scientists have put out, you can see that it doesn't really generate all that much from any kind of meaningful organism or any kind of artificial intelligence. Everything pretty much just flounders around, and there are solutions made by people that are far better than what evolution has ever came up with in the computer. So let's see, what kind of simulations do they have? They've got one of a bird. And this bird, if you look at it, it's here on YouTube, it just flops around the first few generations. I don't know, it might even be 1,000 generations. It just flies a little bit and then falls to the ground dead. As a matter of fact, they even start it in the air. It's kind of unfair. But yeah, they just start in the air, and then eventually, of course, it figures out to fly. So they just try enough solutions, enough just trial and error, basically, to get the thing flying. But of course, in real life, that would have never happened, would it? No, the bird would have just fallen dead and something would have eaten it, and of course wouldn't have had any children to even get to that point. Let's see, we got all these walking creatures. Well, of course, the bird, if he falls on the ground, maybe he can hop around or something. But they've got all these walking creatures that they've tried to develop, and the very few ones, the first ones just crawl around in a circle. Well, that's not going to do much. Something's going to eat it. I mean, it's not going to be able to find any food or another mate or anything. And, well, of course, the genomes are real small. They really don't have too many parameters. The scientists pretty much know about what the solution is going to be, so they make sure to use just the parts that would get it there, because it would take far too long for it to generate anything meaningful. If it was just random, I mean totally random, then it would just have all kind of useless parts, and the creature would never survive long enough if the environment's supposed to be changing. Then the original creature would just die out before it eventually found out how to crawl around. It's not even a circle. I mean, just crawl in a straight line to get food or something. And who knows how much the thing would have to eat. I mean, in the computer simulations, it's completely ridiculous. The creatures don't eat. They don't even reproduce. The scientists just use a copy function and just change some of the bits around. Now, a real living creature, even just the asexual ones, it takes a tremendously complex system for the entity to copy itself, to reproduce. And the scientists just, completely ignore this. Now, if you look at some von Neumann stuff, I mean, there are machines that people have built that are very, very complex that are able to reproduce themselves. But if you change the slightest thing in them, then the whole thing just breaks down and it won't reproduce. So there's no way that big, huge contraption that these people have made that reproduces itself could have ever came about from evolution. I mean, it's just way too fragile. And the reproduction, and I've got the food. I mean, they're forced to live. These creatures are forced to live and breed. If they all die out, it's like the foxes and the rabbits. If you run that simulation, it has to be just perfect. Otherwise, the foxes are going to eat all the rabbits, and then they're going to die. Or the rabbits are going to reproduce too much, and then the foxes are going to reproduce far too much, and then eat the rabbits, and then again die. And, well, what about the mutation? If you have a simple organism that doesn't have enough mutation, then it's going to get stuck in a local minimum. This always happens. You've got to make sure to increase the mutation if it doesn't evolve enough. But if you have the mutation too high, and if you don't keep around the original parents, then the children are going to be all these mongoloid children that don't even hardly resemble the parent and that aren't viable anyway. So, of course, the scientists have to keep around the parent until enough of the children will survive, or at least one of them is better than the parent. But of course, the scientists forced this to happen. If the parents were just to die out, then eventually there would be so much mutation, or not enough mutation, and the environment would change too quick, that all the entities would just die. And what about artificial intelligence? Genetic algorithms and evolutionary programming is also used for artificial intelligence. But if you look at what people have built, they have built better artificial intelligence than evolution has. And it's still not very good. I mean, they specifically have to tell it what kind of things to evolve. They have to tell it exactly what the goal is. They have to make sure that the organisms always have a way to reproduce. And of course, they just use a copy function. They got to make sure that they don't have that the parents don't die out, that they keep them around, or that at least they don't have enough mutation, but then they've got to increase the mutation. But anyway, where's my HAL 9000 computer? I mean, wasn't neural nets and this evolutionary programming or something supposed to generate something meaningful? About the best neural net is the backgammon playing program. Backgammon, this guy trained a neural net, but he didn't train it using evolution. No, he just trained it by having the thing play against itself. He intentionally made the thing learn. He didn't evolve it to learn. So anyway, these scientists have got all these flopping birds and all these just ridiculous hopping creatures, and I mean, they can't even feed themselves, even if they did require energy, which of course even the simplest living things require energy. I mean, even a virus requires something, some kind of mechanism to reproduce it. These organisms are far too, the ones that they have evolved are far too simple to ever do something like that. And of course, if it requires complexity, I mean, something on the scale that a living organism would require, the scientists haven't even got close to generating something of that complexity. They do it by hand much better. So evolve artificial intelligence, evolve intelligence in real life, or involve some organism that can actually reproduce and feed and find a mate, and that can evolve at just the right rate, so not too much, not too little. It's actually pretty ridiculous. So if you look at these evolutionary algorithms, the scientists have done a pretty good job of disproving evolution more than people that scoffed at it. So they believed in evolution, and they went right ahead and disproved it.